Hello everyone, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you for joining our contribution experience meeting. So I want to start and thank you to everyone who participated in reviews and merge pull requests this week. Let's start with issue triage. Kanik and Leo, I can see that both of you on triage this week. Kanik, I can see that you online. Anything, actually, you already have one ticket. Yep, Kanika, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight this issue because it is the issue when people were facing to upgrade to V3. So there are some comments on it already by Keith, and I think he thinks it's not a UI issue. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this up for discussion. I haven't really had time to look into the code for it to tell you exactly what the issue is.
Okay, application status. It's only problem in V3, right? Or also in V2? Yeah, it's only problem in V3.
Yeah, it's related, I think, to the health status being moved out from the CR. So that's what the question was, like, could it be related to that? So it's like the application, according to the user, is already synced, but it still shows up as syncing on.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty default use case, right? Potentially. Did you try to reproduce it?
I haven't yet. I'll do that today. I can respond that on the issue.
Yeah, maybe if it's very easy to reproduce, it's potentially, because for me it looks like it's a very basic sync, and it should be pretty easy to reproduce. And after that, we can better check what is the reason. Okay. Any comments on it? Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'll try reproducing it. Thank you so much.
Jahpreet, yeah, I can see that you're here. I'm open.
Okay, so regarding this issue, we have a partner who is looking into getting this implemented. So the requirement is they have an OCI artifact where they have a Helm chart, and for the dev environment, they keep on pushing with the same tag, and because Argo CD caches that Helm chart, they wanted to have an option to disable the Helm chart cache for a particular environment. So I just wanted to get an idea on if this can be implemented, or if there are any concerns regarding this issue.
Do you know if we have Helm chart as a cached on Argo CD side? So we can actually, this option would affect Argo CD code?
Yes.
Okay.
So first thing, it wouldn't be a sync option. It doesn't directly have anything to do with syncing. It has to do with refreshing the manifests. I'm kind of shocked that hard refresh hasn't triggered a regeneration and a repulling of the or clearing of the Helm cache. To me, this just means that hard refresh needs to be probably expanded to include clearing the Helm cache.
It looks reasonable. Only the problem can be if someone using hard refresh, they may have some performance degradation, but they should not actually in the end use by default.
Also, Dan, I can't tell if you're talking to us. If so, your sound is pretty garbled.
So
But that,
I doubt it helps you.
Then you have
And
some
then
problems
the
with
flight
mic.
is
yeah, I don't think he's talking to us.
I
If
have
someone has room, you can read him. Yeah, so adding Helm cache disabling to hard refresh may be problematic for performance. I'm a little inclined to say, hey, y'all are kind of like not using Helm the way you should. Maybe just use a CMP and delete caches however you want. But I mean, it's got 17 upvotes, so maybe this is a super common pattern.
Yep. And we should not have dedicated option for it, right? Just hard refresh.
I'd like to avoid it. It's just one more option of many things.
Cool. I will add comment later. I will not take time right now with this. So I will just comment on this issue after the meeting. Another one.
Yeah, this one was closed. This one caused a confusion between for a user. So basically, Azure Workload Identity only works on the AKS or Arc connected clusters. So they were trying to run it on a disconnected cluster. So I just gave them the way how it should work, and just wanted to check if I should specify this in the documentation to avoid this confusion.
You already merged the pull request of documentation?
No, I haven't. The issue who opened the issue, he closed it. I just wanted to check if I should add this clause in the documentation for the workload identity for Azure.
Okay.
I'll add this one.
Sure, let me know if you need some help with review or something. Okay, next one.
Yeah, so this is regarding a new sort of feature request. So Azure Workload Identity support was recently added for Azure DevOps for pulling in the artifacts, OCR repositories, for Azure Container Registries, and even for SSO. So this was missing. So I am planning to get this feature through if anybody has any concerns regarding this. So
Microsoft enter SSO using managed identities. Not so strong Microsoft user.
So basically, the Azure Workload Identity implementation, I only worked on that implementation. So it was added so that Argo CD users can fetch, if they're using Azure DevOps repository, they can fetch their source without any credentials using the workload identity. And similarly, if they're using OCI artifacts or OCI registry, which is Azure Container Registry behind the scenes, they can connect to that as well without credentials. And similarly, if anybody is using Microsoft Entra SSO, and they can connect to that without any credentials, without managing any credentials. And this one, pull request generator, it was missed in that implementation. I was not aware of this feature. So I am planning to add this in upcoming sprints.
Yep, for me it sounds reasonable. Anyone has any concerns about it?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, let us know if you need some help with review.
Sure.
You have, let me just check, yeah. You have a question about Redis and Valkey?
Yeah, so Redis again is now back open source. It was not open source. So I just wanted to check if there are any discussions regarding moving from Redis to Valkey or keep staying with Redis at this point in time.
Yeah, I am sure I saw a few tickets about moving from Redis to Valkey.
We just had a conversations like about this just like recently. So TLDR is like we are like since it's Valkey is drop-in replacement and you can just replace image with Valkey image. we're gonna keep it. And also it seems like it doesn't apply to us because we are not like offering a commercial alternative to Redis. We are just like using Redis as like a thing, and we don't even touch Redis code. So even like with 7.4 and all their like intermediate license, we should be fine. The Redis 0.8, we should be fine. So at least we were like thinking that we can keep it as is, and if people feel strong about using Valkey, they should change it. But one thing what is discussed, maybe we like should add some testing for Valkey specifically, but for that we need like some good way to manage manifest with multiple options to not like have explosion of number of like manifest files. But so far, like seems like we don't really consider doing this replacement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mike, here. Let me check.
Hi, yes.
Mhm.
I wanted to add a little context to this feature, mostly around the instrumentation changes. I don't really see like obviously the OTel middleware has been around for a little while, and I have sort of introduced a new pattern though of context propagation through the auth flow to capture into OTel traces. I personally used it for my development purposes. I'm curious if there are any opinions about including it here, whether or not there are whether we would want to adopt a different pattern. Actually, just genuinely curious how others feel about the OTel instrumentation in general, tracing instrumentation specifically.
I think we're using Cartel.
Yes, in middleware.
Yeah.
Primarily. So this is the pattern introduced here is within the call to actually propagate context and create spans for individual functions. So you're seeing the entire stack of calls effectively. I should probably include a screenshot or something that kind of makes it more apparent what it ends up looking like.
No, I think I understand. You just want to do additional traces.
Yeah, so it helps with timing, like so you can see if you have any adverse sort of effects on how long the calls are taking or certain portions of the calls are taking. In one case, I wanted to be sure that I was minimizing the use of the cache and seeing what the effects were for adding this logic to do this this preemptive token refresh logic, right? Anyway, I found it very, very helpful for development purposes.
Looks reasonable. I just think that if you just time and so on, not going to disclosure any security information.
So there were a couple attributes added for the session ID and the subject. I did add those as attributes into the span. I don't know if that's something we want to exclude. Like I'm definitely open to suggestion on any of these things. So I'm hoping actually that if we find generally this pattern to be helpful, that this would be something we'd sort of generalize and maybe other developers would adopt the same pattern.
Yeah, so as I understand, you just want to check if it's fine to add and you asking for some review here?
Yes, yeah, because I'm doing it inside of this feature addition, and because I used it in development, and I thought, why not include it? And if there aren't any objections to it, yeah, I'm asking for a review for both things, really.
I personally don't see any problems with it. Maybe someone else has any comments, but
I don't see any problem like in his approach in general. I use this traces, although like we use like Datadog mostly, but it's pretty much similar interface. And
yeah.
I find traces often very useful for debugging to see like what's been called, like how much time it takes, etc. So definitely seems useful. In terms of specific information like session ID, I'm not like a security guy. I don't have like strong opinion on this. Session ID by itself doesn't seem like something super sensitive, but I don't know. Maybe somebody else thinks it is. So like maybe it's good to come up with some standard of like what's sensitive, what's not, but I would probably refrain from opinion here.
Yeah, that might be the only potentially risky thing that I added in there. I think it's no more like it goes into logs, right? So that's the reason why I thought, oh, it's probably not an issue if we want to include that same data into tracing. I feel like the security posture for exposing this sort of telemetry is not going to be different than it would be for logging.
Yeah, if it's already in login, I think for those things it's okay to include in traces as well. Yeah, unless it's like some obvious miss. But yeah, session ID just seems like some random ID which like
Yeah,
potential
it's
attacker
simple.
doesn't seem to be able to use for anything. Like so.
Yep. I don't have any concerns about it.
And I have one other question about the code coverage. Because I strived to get as close to 100 as seemed reasonable. Like I probably, there's sort of diminishing returns once you get to a certain point, the amount of effort required and refactoring required. So as a standard, what are we generally happy with? Is it do we meet the bar at 70+%?
No. I think code coverage for the whole project is, I think it was like something like 55%, maybe like it became 60% some point back. But 70, like if you got 70%, it's like really good. I don't like, I would think more like, hey, is this pattern like likely to break? But if it's like maybe some edge case, like checking for nil or checking for error, then maybe those cases you don't need to like cover as much. But like, yeah, if core flows are covered, then and the coverage sufficient, it's probably good enough.
I agree with Andreas. As long as you cover main flows and you cover the codes that you changed, it's good.
Yes. Yeah, code I changed. Yeah, exactly. Like in cases where the traces were added, like those lines may not be covered. And yes, I am satisfied that it's well tested.
Okay. That's all, Mike. Any other questions to us?
No, thank you.
Okay, Andrei, we're on to you.
Yeah, so I discussed it briefly with Michael, and so I've been like looking into this feature to use streaming response to apparently like relieve a pressure on like API server, like when we like list resources. But apparently, like I just discovered that like Kubernetes like backed on that down on that. They're like, backed off that. I think. Sorry. So they like introduced another feature where they just doing optimization on the server side itself, like where they do like streaming of like things before encoding them, and it seemed like give better performance results for like a API server comparing to like watch list. And so what they did is like 133, they like just disabled watch list by default, and it's unclear if it's even gonna graduate as a feature. And instead, I think they just even enabled by default this new thing is like streaming, response, like for JSON, like protobuf encoding. So I'm like, from what I understand, it just seems like then this part of project is just becoming obsolete. But I started to look more into like what we can optimize on GitOps engine side, because we have like our own data structures we initialize, like maybe some extra fields maybe we don't need anymore. Like for example, I still haven't cleaned up iterate hierarchy v1, which was used like before iterate hierarchy v2, and it was like and square complexity, and maybe that can be cleaned up, and some fields can be cleaned up, and like, free some memory. So I would look more into that, and then another thing I found is like if we have like some namespaces specified, instead of like processing all namespaces at once, we seem to be having like some like callback call for every namespace, but it also uses like full list of things in the cluster. So it seems like less than ideal. So I'll look into that too. So like basically I just wanted to give an update on this thing, and like that I would just look more into GitOps engine optimizations in like overall, rather than just dealing with like watch list.
Yeah, but the question, first of all, I would suggest to split it into 2 different topics, right? So cleanup, it's just to clean the things what we have right now, and switch to, I would just deliver them separately, to be honest, because it's 2 different things a bit.
Yeah, but it seems like the streaming part above JSON coding just seems to be included in like 133, and it's turned on by default on Kubernetes.
It's like not requires any changes on our side, right? We just...
Yeah, basically that. That's my understanding. As long as people install 133 and don't turn it off, it should just already give benefit to Kubernetes API server in terms of memory usage.
Oh, nice. Okay. I saw that they provide new interface or something like this.
No, like, yeah, it seems like it's just purely server-side thing, and like client-side just don't seem to need any changes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the idea to clean up all feature flags and so on is pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, okay.
Probably can consider it for version 3. But... Okay, cool. Rafa,
okay, cool.
Are you here? Yeah, I can see that you're here.
Yeah.
Question.
So I was we were using the app set controller, and we have quite a app app sets. Sometimes with quite a few like matrix generators and all kinds of interactions. And I submitted a PR to increase the amount of the work queue size for the reconciliation queue, and it defaulted to 100, and I moved it to like 125, and unfortunately, it spits out a nice warning message, but if you didn't look at the logs, you wouldn't notice the warning message, and then it goes to the default of 10. So I wanted to increase the value. I used max int, which is probably too big. I chose that only because the status operators and I forget exactly what the 2 queues are for the application controller, but those both use max int. And then there was some discussions on the PR about it possibly, being too large, which I think is very reasonable feedback. So I wanted to see if anybody had any concerns with moving it to a larger number, and if anybody had any opinions on what the large number could be. We use it. We want to be able to increase it so we can increase parallelism, obviously, of how we process our app sets. We sometimes see that an app set with a lot of those matrix and merge generators will kind of clog up the queue, and we have quite a few of them. And this will help some of the no-op changes that maybe don't even have any changes to get through the pipe.
My feeling is we've got maxes set for the app controller queues. There really aren't any complaints that I'm aware of about those values. It's best to standardize on kind of one way of doing it, either tune it by default or max it by default. And since things seem to be going well with the maxed out app controller defaults, let's just max it.
That's fine by me.
Okay. So you can keep it like this.
And if anybody has a second, feel free to give it a review. It's a relatively small change.
Yeah. Sorry, I have one thing to add. Is like I think in practice you probably don't want to value more than like maybe a few hundred or 1,000. And there's another parameter you need to tune is the kubectl concurrency, which I think is like something like 20 or so by default. And I just don't know how much you can push through it. I guess if you don't really want to protect against users specifying wrong values, like Maxine, is fine by me. If users maybe have more performant machines or something, and like maybe have set up that where this works, maybe it's fine. But just in practice, I don't see this value being like, I don't know, 1 million or something being like actually working.
I
think
agree.
the way to think about it is like by default, we have no concurrency limit, and we expect that if people find they need a concurrency limit, they're going to configure it and tune it for themselves.
Okay.
Agree with what you said as well. Like there's certain, there's obviously limits.
Okay, Ryan, you got approved just in live.
Thank you.
Okay, next one. Rafa, we missed you. So if you can hear us and use us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool.
And it's just a quick checkpoint. If you guys have any idea about the next version of the rollout with this PR that's in flight.
Zach is not here. Michael, maybe you can help with rollouts. Because
I haven't heard from Zach about this particular thing. We've chatted about it a little bit because we know it's a problem. I think last time we talked, there was still some work to be done on the PR. Am I correct that that's all been cleaned up and this is ready to go?
Correct.
Sweet. I'll ping Zach. I know he's super busy, but just knowing that this is in good shape now, hopefully he'll have some time to look at it.
Thank you.
Nitish, yours.
Yep. So this was an issue that was raised yesterday, and it's about that if an application set is going to have multiple or duplicate name, then the new application set is going to replace the previous application set installation. So in simple terms, it's just that if you create an application set that has a specific name, such as any name, and then you again create an application set with the same name, but let's say you change some configurations, probably some fields you change in the template section, then what is going to happen is the previous application set that you created initially is going to be overridden by the new application set. And as far as I researched about it, I tried to replicate this issue, and I could see that we were getting several of the warnings, either if we were trying to create the application set via kubectl, or even if we were trying to create the application set by the Argo CD CLI command as well. So my question, so I just noticed that the issue author has commented something around that they would, if this issue can be fixed by adding a blocking condition to verify if the same object doesn't appear in multiple files. In my personal opinion, this is what I'm thinking, that this is a genuine behavior and we're already solving that. But is there a need to work on this issue anymore, or should we just simply close it?
We should close it. Like that's just how Kubernetes resources work. If you have two resources with the same name and you have access to replace the existing one with the same name, it gets replaced. If they need security boundaries or safety checks around replacing existing app sets, they need to put them in different namespaces or do something to validate that users aren't running over each other's work.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So there's nothing that we should probably try to change either in the controllers code base, as they mentioned that we can probably add a blocking condition to verify if the same app set is appearing in other files or not. I think that's going to be a complicated solution, but I don't think so. We might need to work on this, if I'm correct.
We shouldn't do, I mean, take application set out of it. If you've got a deployment object that has name guestbook and you deploy that with kubectl apply or Argo CD or whatever, if you then come along and like tweak that file and don't change the name and you do a kubectl apply, every system that is involved thinks that you're trying to update the existing deployment. Now, if you want protection against ever updating that resource, then you should add a Kyverno webhook or something to prevent updates. But like, that's just how all the systems work. If you change a resource with the same name, the resource gets changed. There's nothing that we can or should do to prevent that.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I'll comment under the issue and we'll close this one.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Azal, you here? So let me see. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name incorrectly. So Afzal, are you here? Yeah, I can see that you just joined and you're here. Afzal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi, everyone.
So, what do you
Let's
want to
try.
discuss on this item?
Yeah, actually, this word actually, with the help of Black, we managed to support connection limits. So we had some issues with yeah, some connection timeout, and also basically this allows you to like users to manage on top of notification services. So I need some additional feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that we implement this. Only small notice that we implement the same thing. Just because we create different clients with different transports. I just like see pretty big duplication in every new client. You need to remember that you need to implement this timeout. I think if it can be somehow moved outside, so we will not need to, when we implement every new provider, to think about, to not forget about implement timeout.
Yeah, I can comment it. I think I will definitely follow up with that. It will be suitable for me to get through that again.
Yeah, I will put the comment, because the challenge here is that in every implementation you kind of doing same thing. And if you will implement tomorrow new one, you will need to remember to implement transport in exactly the same way. It's probably not so big deal, but still. Cool. Any other comments on it? Okay. It was last topic. Any other topics? We still have 10 minutes.
I can bring up one. It's also related to notifications engine. I wonder if there is any solution to this. So notifications, they have a problem of sometimes arriving out of order. Like for example, you have like sync succeeded, sync failed, or something, but then you send them like, or like on deployed, maybe revisions change very frequently, and you send a lot of notifications. And sometimes they arrive out of order. And if you try to build a system which like tries to capture, okay, what's the state? Did they deploy successfully? That becomes a problem. So I wonder, is there some way to introduce some sort of like sequencing order for notifications?
Yeah, it's possible. So you think the problem in processing of events and not events?
No, it's just like network basically. My understanding is like network. So sometimes like the notifications just like get like, so there is no like stream to subscribe to. It's just like basically some like HTTP calls, and well, there is no guarantee they arrive in the same order that they're sent.
It's a question if providers doing it not asynchronously. So probably in such case you can do, but if they send them asynchronously, you cannot guarantee on our side that they will arrive in correct order.
Yeah.
Unless
Although we tried. Yeah,
unless provider supported.
I see.
We can try. We
We-
can take Slack, for example, as POC, and we can see about it.
Yeah, we try to just to build deploy system. We just run into some edge cases. For example, I set up like notifications for auto sync enabled or disabled, and sometimes people report, "Oh, hey, auto sync is actually enabled, but like the system, our deploy system thinks it's disabled because apparently like there's been some like, and if people quickly enable and disable it or something, then it's like it can arrive out of order or whatnot." So then I guess we're just arriving at some situations that in order to make a deploy system which actually can like manage state really well, it has to become a controller. So we actually need to disable auto sync for all applications and trigger sync manually, and also like pull instead of push. But it seems like a big change for for how Argo CD seems to work. But sounds like we haven't come up with another solution which is like gives correctness for 100% of cases.
Yeah, but it would be really nice feature. I'm just afraid that probably providers itself not supporting it. However, I may be wrong.
See, in our case, we just do like a Lambda, like we basically set up some AWS Lambda with like some public URL, and we just send some payload to this from like Argo CD right now.
Yeah, you're kind of doing some middleware and doing.
Super naively, it feels like you could add a queue on the controller side and just push to that queue, which you should expect to be super duper fast. And then have a go routine pop off that queue and just always confirm that it gets like an HTTP response from Slack or whatever before it sends the next. Now, of course, like Slack could choose to publish things out of order, but then at least you've confirmed that Slack has gotten them in order.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing that you can probably only guarantee on our side. You still cannot guarantee it on Slack side.
I see. Okay, so sounds like yeah, we just for same application, we don't want to send another notification if previous notification hasn't been processed yet. Something like this, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we are out of topics. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your.
Actually, I added one. This isn't even my PR, so I don't know why it's not showing up. I guess it hasn't been accepted. But we actually saw this issue recently, and someone has. Is there some reason it's not showing up here, even though I've edited the document? I can paste it into the chat.
Yep. Is
Okay.
it chat or
Okay.
document?
All right. Sorry about that. Here we go. Someone has there are some multiple sort of related issues here, and someone has proposed a fix where they're basically looking at the error string. Like, I don't love that we are looking at an error string coming from Kubernetes API server, but and then doing different things with it. I don't know if there's an alternative to this, which we could suggest to the author here. I did read to try to find if there was some deterministic pattern on the Kubernetes side that could never result in something like a false positive. It's unclear to me whether that is the case, but essentially they're looking for the string conversion webhook in the error message. And if they see that error, it is not going to outright fail in the hierarchy v2 iteration. I've recently seen this, so it actually completely, like, everything stops reconciling. All app statuses go into an unknown sync state. and it looks really, really terrible when this is happening. So this is like one CRD that fails webhook, and the entire sync of the cluster, of the target cluster, is bricked. So this is actually really important to fix. I just want to know if we should suggest a different approach to the author of this PR.
I think there are multiple conditions actually that can brick the cluster cache like this. This is a really good example. I haven't looked at exactly how the author has done the isolation. I think intuitively what I would hope would happen is everything gets pulled into the cluster cache except that kind, and we somehow like designate that kind as being degraded or unavailable. And then hopefully like the application can communicate up to the user, okay, well, we're not interacting with this kind, so everything's fine, or we are interacting with it, so now the app's in
Right.
an unknown state.
So per app, right? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And at least the pattern for how you could regex capture the kind, the version and kind out of there is deterministic.
Okay.
So maybe I would make that feedback.
And the errors should be returned. Like all of the operations that we do, I think, are on a specific kind. So we should already kind of know what kind we're operating on. One problem with that approach is if we can't list or retrieve all the resources for a given kind, we don't really know that that kind is not represented in a resource tree because we know which files are in Git, but we don't know what resources might be children of those files or of those resources. So you can't say with perfect confidence that the app is actually in a known state if you can't list every single resource on the destination cluster. So I'm not really sure the appropriate way to handle this besides sort of we think things are mostly okay, but your app is also kind of in an unknown, sort of unknown state. I don't know. I'm not sure there's a great solution here.
Okay. Well, it sounds like this as is a no-go, and that we will have to help, I think, the author to build test cases for this and perhaps validate some of the scenarios, the behavior in the scenarios you just outlined, Michael.
Yeah, I think this needs more attention, more discussion.
Okay. I'd be delighted to know what some of the other cases are and whether those are documented where it's a known outcome that all sync status for a given cluster would go to an unknown state. And maybe this is tribal knowledge, though.
Yeah,
It's based on experience.
One right off the top of my head is if we hit pagination token timeouts on lists, I think it means we just never basically mark the cluster cache as ready, and therefore all the apps on that cluster get marked as unknown. It's kind of the cluster cache is kind of an all or nothing thing. Either you've got a proper cache and apps are fine, or you don't have a proper cache and they're in an unknown state because, well, you just don't know.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking a few minutes at the end of the call here. Sounds like this could be an extensive topic if we wanted to go down more corner case paths.
Yeah, maybe put it on the top of the list for next round and we'll talk some more.
Sure, sounds good.
I even can put it right now. So, yep, it's here. Okay, thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day. Bye.
Oh, yep. I just realized that you did not select primary, secondary for next week.
Yeah. Okay, so looks like I will take some of it. Anyone from people that stay here can take primary or secondary?
I can take primary.
Thank you. And I will join you. In any case, I didn't do it for a long time. Pasha, where is it? Okay, thank you. Thank you for
Yep,
reminder.
no worries.
Have a good day.
No worries. You too. Bye-bye.
Have a good